Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to this show on Automatic, you can also find it on iTunes. So I hope that you will go there. You could do a search for Women Entrepreneurs Radio or come to the blog womenentrepreneursecrets.com and you will find links to the platforms that the show is on. You could just click on the podcast link in the menu and you'll see different places where you can also find the show and listen. And I hope that you also will leave a review, particularly if you're on iTunes, because it always helps the show to be found by more people. So if you're on there and if you like what you hear, I hope that you will leave a review and let everybody else know they should check out the show. So we're going to get started today with a returning guest. Kim Harris, who's the legacy creator, and she's author, speaker, and financial capability expert. And as an SBA Women in Business Champion, certified business development and cash flow consultant, Kim provides guidance, information, and education that will empower individuals, entrepreneurs, and small business owners to become financially capable. She consults clients on how to access business capital, build strong business credibility, use other people's money through grants, sponsorships, and credit lines. She is credited for securing millions of dollars in grants, sponsorships, and private capital. So welcome back to the show, Kim.
Thank you, Deb. I'm so excited and, of course, always ready to have an engaging conversation with you.
Yes, because we've had a few over the years, so that's definitely the case. That's definitely the case. And this is always money is always a very important topic to talk about in the perfect time to do it, because you're saying this month is financial capability.
Yes.
Month, and so I just want to make sure that you had some information going forward to help all of you in terms of money and planning and good stuff like that. So we really want to start out, Kim, just to try to have everyone understand the difference between financial literacy and financial capability.
Absolutely. It's a very important distinction. And most people are financially literate, meaning they understand how to manage their personal finances. They understand, how to get, personal credit cards and things of that nature. But financial capability is a whole different animal because it's really an advanced level of financial literacy. Taking all those skills that you know about managing personal finances and actually using them in the active mode of investing in what I call appreciable assets and building future wealth. So when you're financially capable, you're able to look at your current situation and plan for the future. So unfortunately, the majority of people are not in this category. The majority of people are living payday to payday and, just barely trying to make ends meet, living off of credit, card debt, and things like that. And it's just not healthy for their financial future. So the goal is to get everybody that's financially literate more responsible with their managing their personal finances and move them into a state of financial capability.
Wondering, why do you think that so many people are just not able to understand their finances. You know, do you think that it seems like this is always a problem for people? And I'm just wondering if it's a cultural thing that people just aren't taught, or,
Well,
what do you think?
I think, it could be a lot of factors involved in it. Life happens. Unfortunately, everything is not scripted out. And so, you have emergencies that come up you're not prepared for. You have, something that surprises your finances, like a loss of a job, and you lose a primary income earner. Many things happen. There are many factors that play into it. However, we've gone through Great Depressions, we've gone through recessions, we've gone through market, fallouts, bank bailouts, all kind of stuff, and people are still just surviving. So that's a good thing because we haven't completely collapsed. However, it's a personal responsibility to become more empowered with information that will help you to stabilize your financial situation. And the information is readily available. There's no secrets out there in terms of managing your money effectively. However, I think it's important to note that there is good debt and there's bad debt. The bad debt is when you're already in debt and you're getting more in debt by trying to, use credit cards and things like that to stay afloat. Of course, that doesn't play well for anyone, except for the banks and the credit card companies that's extending the credit. Mm-hmm. And so I think a real responsibility falls on our shoulders to become more cognizant of where we are financially. Get those credit reports every year. Look at your credit reports. See what debt you can pay down. There are systematic ways that you could do that effectively. And I've helped clients to, eliminate $50,000, $60,000 in debt in 3 years or less. Because it is systematic, it's very strategic, and you've got to be disciplined. And I think that's the big thing. We're guided more by what we want than what we need to do. And I think we had this conversation before, mm-hmm. The wants and the needs, and the wants always seem to outweigh the need. Mm-hmm. And so, where you're debating on whether or not you need that new Airmaid bag or those new red bottom shoes, you have to consider, my rule of thumb is if you can't pay for it 5 times in cash, don't buy it on credit. And so, because you can't afford to, by the time you finish paying for those red bottoms on credit, you've paid 3 times the amount. So think about that.
You're right.
And so, it's really just taking another look at money. We are a country of consuming. We consume a lot of luxuries, a lot of niceties, but not necessarily necessities. And so it's just really taking a hard look and saying, okay, I really don't need this. Mm-hmm. It's not a life or death thing. It's not something that's going to transform my life. If you can't afford to get it, if you can, and like I say, if you can pull out, $6,000-$7,000 in cash and pay for 3 or 4 pair of those red bottoms, then you can do it. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and buy them on credit. But if you can't, don't put it on your credit card. Okay, most right. people only have about $1,000 in the bank or less. And most people are just a paycheck away, a disaster away from, literally being homeless. And it's a sad state of affair. However, there are things that you can do to buffer those chances and prepare a safety net for yourself financially. Mm-hmm. There are ways to do that.
Right. And that's really good that you're breaking it down like that, because a lot of times people don't see how they can maybe make these changes themselves. It maybe looks like, oh, this is too big, or mm-hmm. It's overwhelming. So, it's it's good for people to see that, yes, it is within their reach to do it, but they may just have to change some habits.
Right, right. And I have known people to literally go cold turkey with all the excessive spending, and find that they are much happier because now they see the realization of, oh my gosh, I am secure with my financial future. I have these safety nets in place, and I know that, my life is going to be much better for it. And I really don't miss all the stuff. I really don't miss it as much as I thought I would. They're realizing that a lot of the things they thought they had to have, they really don't need. And so it's kind of just becoming aware of and prioritizing what's important. And what's important is, if you have a family, protecting your family to some degree, or taking these measures to at least try to protect them if something should happen. And I think last year when we talked and we had the conversation around financial capability, we talked about the new tax changes that were coming. And guess what? They're here.
Yeah, sounds like a mess, though.
It's a mess, but it was a mess waiting to happen. And I warned people, I told you so, kind of thing. They were coming, and now they're here. And many, many people that are filing taxes this year are going to have a big rude awakening on their tax returns. And so, and there's nothing much we can do about the changes, but we can always prepare for those changes. And so that's, kind of where I am now. And now I'm, also helping clients who are in reactive mode, who waited until the last minute to make the changes and try to be one of the ones that will find themselves on the good side of these changes, on the favorable side of these changes. So, yeah.
Well, what suggestions can you offer for people who are challenged in their finances right now?
Well, I have many methods. The first method I call is, plugging up the holes in the bucket. A lot of people have holes in their money buckets and they don't even realize it. So the first step to me is really just saying, okay, I'm going to be more aware, just making an acknowledgement that I'm going to be more aware of where my money goes. It's amazing how, I was one of these people too, get paid on Friday and Monday. I was broke because I would go crazy with the debit card on the weekend, and then all the charges would hit on Monday. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. Wow, I'm overdrawn. What happened?
Yeah.
And then I started looking at the receipts and trying to figure out where the money went. So the first step for me is, to first just acknowledge that you're going to be more aware of where your money goes. That means being more conscious of your spending. Use cash instead of a debit card. And that literally means go to the bank, take out $200 or $300, and if you've spent all that, don't use the debit card. Just really be aware of where the cash is going. Keep your receipts. I keep my receipts in a separate bill folder as I'm spending, and then at the end of the week, I staple them all together and I go through them and just kind of reconcile where my money went. And this helps me to see if I've spent way too much money on Starbucks this week, or I, spent a little bit more on dining out than I had planned. It helps me to become more aware of where I'm spending my money so that I could cut back in those areas and plug up some of the holes in my money bucket, right? And then once we get people acclimated to, being aware of their spending habits, and then they get that under control, then I help them to stabilize their cash flow in their business if they're a business owner, stabilize the cash flow by helping them to find more ways to generate cash flow in their business. And surprisingly, there are a lot of ways that you can do that without revamping your whole financial basis. And then once we do that and it's all stable, personal and business, then we put them on a a wealth creation strategy. And I have a method called the silk stocking method, which uses 5 pillars of wealth creation, and it helps the individual to maximize their money in investments and in appreciable assets.
Mm-hmm. Those are great suggestions, actually. And just what people need, some plan of action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, strategy. I mean, really, you can't win if you don't have a strategy with money.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't. You know, it's going to always be, just a cycle of lack if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have a strategy in place. Got to have a
Mm-hmm.
map.
Mm-hmm. And what the phrase money mastery, what does that mean to you?
Money mastery to me is understanding the role that money plays in my life. So if you understand the role that money plays in your life and how it will impact your goals, then you have an understanding of money mastery. And this is how I help other people to redefine their relationships with money so that they can achieve money mastery.
And most of it sounds as though it really is your relationship with money and how you see it, spend it,
It
all
is.
that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Your relationship with money, it can go back very, very, very far. And it actually, plays a big role in your habits with money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, I talk about in my upcoming book, A Dime to My Name. I talk about how my relationship with money began.
Mm-hmm.
And how it impacted every decision that I made in my life, whether it concerned money or not. Every decision was based on my relationship with money because it played out in that way, and
Mm-hmm.
how I struggled with money because of my relationship with it, and
Mm-hmm.
identifying that is very key, very key. Even if you have a wonderful relationship with money, you
Mm-hmm.
have a relationship with it, and that's why your life situations or circumstances are more favorable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter which flip, and there's no pun intended here, but whatever side of the coin lands, it doesn't matter because it's two sides of the same coin, right?
Right, right.
There's either one extreme or the other when it concerns money. You're either doing very well or you're doing very poorly.
And your book is on pre-order, everybody. It's A Dime to My Name, Breaking the Silence, Healing the Brokenness, and Living the Dream. And, we're talking about your, relationship with money and how that affected you. But,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about people, let's say traumas that may happen in someone's life, or a lot of times I think in people's early life as well, it affects how they look at money, or maybe their family thinks beliefs passed down. What impact did that have on you and your journey?
Wow. Okay, so money is never about the money itself. It's always about the experience that money provides, right? The
Mm.
nice house, the nice car, the vacations, the spa treatments. It's about how well you can treat yourself to experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never really about that. The problem with my journey was that I never felt I deserved any of that.
Mm.
And it stemmed from my traumatic experience with money and my tumultuous relationship with it throughout my life. And it made me feel like I wasn't worthy of any of the things that I saw other people experience it. In fact, I didn't feel worthy of it. I didn't feel worthy of a nice house, a nice car, money, or, excess of money, or just being able to experience going on vacations whenever I wanted to. I didn't feel worthy of any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because of my relationship with money. I was afraid of it and didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even realize I was afraid of it. And as a result of being afraid of it, because I thought that it would hurt me, I would make plenty of it, but get rid of it as quickly as I could. And it was either through vices or it was through, just poor financial management. But no matter what, I mean, literally, I lost $10,000 in two days.
Mm.
$10,000 in 2 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Who does that? Somebody with a real dysfunction with money, okay? God.
I'm still working through that in my head, so that's why and it's not like I'm not reacting. I'm just,
And that was,
my face is reacting.
that was 30 years ago. Okay, so imagine what that would be worth today, $10,000. You know what I mean? But that was, at the time, that's where I was. It mattered, but it didn't. And it didn't matter because I didn't feel like I was worthy of having it. So I had to get rid of it. And I did. But it was like, that wasn't my initial intention, at least consciously. Consciously, I wasn't aware that was what was happening. And it took me a long time to realize that my subconscious behavior, my subconscious belief about myself led me to make a lot of decisions that actually repelled money from me, and that I couldn't experience abundance for any length of time and of enjoyment. And so this is, part of the challenge with people that are struggling with money, is that they think the money is really about the money, and it isn't. Sometimes it's about something that's a much deeper issue. And they don't want to, they either don't know that it's there and they need to uncover it, or they know that it's there and they need a way to work through it. And so once we, identify where that money story begins, and that means really going back to the first acknowledgement of money and what it meant and represented in that moment, that's when you can identify how your relationship with money began and how it drives every decision that you make concerning your life experiences, because money helps to manifest those experiences, right?
Right.
So that's part of the book A Dime to My Name, Breaking the Silence, is really breaking the silence of the trauma that I experienced, then healing the brokenness of that trauma, and then being able to live my life freely and abundantly as I do today.
What would you say about, a lot of people will go around talking about money's the root of all evil and all that kind of thing? What's your response to that?
Okay, so we go back to that relationship question.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, their relationship with money began with that belief system. You see, our belief systems are what drive our habits and behaviors. And so if some people have the belief that money is the root of all evil, somewhere somebody told them, because that's the only way you can get those kind of beliefs, is somebody imparts that to you and you believe it, right? And so if you're driving in that mode and you believe that money is the root of all evil, then you'll never have it. You'll never have enough of it. You'll never be able to live the experiences that you see other people living, because one, you don't believe that money is good enough for you. You don't believe that you deserve that money because, of course, you don't want it, right? It's evil, right? So you've got to think of money as not this intangible, inanimate object, but think of it as let's think of it as another person, as an individual, right? If we thought of that as an individual, if we thought of money as a moving, living, breathing thing, and we don't like this person, we don't want this person around us, we're not going to be around them, right? And our behaviors around those people are going to be different than for people that we enjoy being around. So I always say, find out what when I say look for your originating story of money and your relationship with it, I'm talking about, how do you feel when you hold it in your hands? How do you feel when you think about the experiences that you want to have? And how do you want to move through your life? Because I'm going to tell you, without that relationship being solid, you'll never experience some of those things, right? So it really does. And it's not unfortunate even. I was going to say unfortunately, but it's not even unfortunate. It's really about awareness. Money is the vehicle, if you will, through which we experience life. It's a vehicle. We drive that vehicle. And so we drive that vehicle with our creativity and creating more money so that we can have more of the experiences that we want. We let that vehicle take us to our limits if we have them. But if we're unlimited in our vision of what those experiences could entail, then we're able to have the creativity expressed in our work, in the things that we do, in our services to the world, so that the money will then flow to us through those channels, so that we can continue to drive to our destinations, our vacations, our time off, our time with our family. And for me, the leverage or the exchange for me is time value. I value my time. Okay. And when I have time freedom, I'm a happy camper. It's, when I feel shackled and chained to a job or to something that I don't want to be in because I got to make money to pay the bill, then I'm miserable. I'm miserable. So time freedom is the goal for me. That's the absolute end game for me. And so I'm going to ensure that everything I do, everything I create is going to generate more money for me to be able to experience that time freedom.
Something that's really interesting is also that a lot of people, particularly in the entrepreneur space now, and then I think a lot of this also comes from our relationships with money, where so many people will say, well, you can do this thing and make all this money. You do less to make more. And on one hand, yes, I understand that the working hard ethic a lot of times is a myth to some degree. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That we say we reward hard work, but then doesn't always line up with reality. But I think where I'm going with this is, I think for a lot of people right now who've come into the entrepreneurial space, who are hearing a lot of claims about you can do this for 2 hours and make 6 figures, I think that's also a warped sense of money, finances, how to handle business finances, how to grow as a person and growing as a business, understanding that requires more of you as a person relating to money. I'm sure you deal with a lot of different clients who are in a lot of different stages. Do you ever deal with people who maybe are going to a bigger money stage but really aren't mentally ready or have these other ideas about money that don't line up yet?
Yeah, all the time. And here's the thing, because people have different motivations.
Yes.
With regard to money. Some people are looking at just the money. And yes, there are a lot of ways out there that you can make money really quick and really fast. However, you have to consider the source in which the hands that money is going to land. And once that money lands in that person's hands, if they're just looking at just having the money or feeling the money for that moment, or, just having that experience of making those 6 figures really quick and fast, then that's all they'll have. Because they don't have the capacity to see beyond that moment. And so, yes, they may go out there and find this method or strategy that will generate this income really quick for them. But if they don't have the wherewithal to take that money and use it wisely or invest it wisely, I promise you it's gone. And I cannot tell you the number of stories that I hear of these online entrepreneurs that go on thinking, okay, I'm going to start my store, online e-commerce store, and I'm going to make all this money. And they do. And then a year later, they are broke because they haven't understood the real magic of money is not the money itself. It's the mechanism through which you experience your dreams and goals. And so if you have just the dream and goal of achieving that dollar, but you don't have any other dreams or goals in place, or even just basic living expenses, just being able to survive, then you are going to experience it really quickly, and it's going to go really quickly. It's like sand, running through your hands. It's like sand seeping through your hand. You can't hold sand. You know what I'm saying? So it eventually seeps through your fingers, and it runs over until it's gone. It's almost it's not to be held in that way. It's really to allow you have to think of it as a current. You achieve it, you get it, you gain it, you put it back out in the world, you put it back out there some kind of way. And so you have to think of it. That's what currency means. Currency means flow. It means movement. And so the mistake that a lot of the new entrepreneurs are making is that going out there thinking they can bring the money in, but not having a purpose for it going out. And so when they don't have a purpose for it going out and it disappears, there's nothing they can do because they haven't assigned it a task to return to them. And so, like I said, you got to think of money as not just this inanimate object. And that's where I stand in the position of my financial education and information that I share. I say you got to come from it because money is spiritual. And you got to come from it from that place of where it is always constantly moving and circulating around you, and how you mentally capture it in your experiences is going to manifest in that way without any hesitation, because now it has a purpose and a strategy for you. So you got to make sure, that you're on point with that. And that's why I think a lot of businesses, and I've done it too. I've started so many online businesses, I can't even begin to tell you. I can't count. I didn't stop counting. Okay. I stopped counting because I've started so many with the idea that, oh, okay, this is going to help me fix my problem. Whatever that problem was. At that time, I was, maybe experiencing a shortage of funds, and I needed to write a new ebook and put it out there really quick so I can make some money. Guess what? It failed. And oftentimes it would fail because now there's this thing called the law of reciprocity. And what you give into the world, you will receive back to yourself. So if I was giving my efforts and my work ethic and all of that behind this new project to think that I was going to get more money, if I was filling that with desperation, guess what? I got desperation back. I only got more of desperation. I never got the money that I was looking for, right? Because it was all filled with the intention of desperation. So I think when we learn how to focus our energy on the experiences, the money follows. Focus our energy on doing, filling our creativity and intention with goodness to serve others, then the money follows. The money comes back because that intention has been put in there to go out and serve the world. And so now my intention is when I create a project I'm looking to serve a greater good, to serve others with it. And in serving others, the goodness can't but come back to me. You see, it can't do anything but come back to me. So that's how I think we have to start looking at how we manage in our finances. The greater good of building wealth is to build a generation of wealth for your family that they never have to go through the struggles that you go through. That's the whole idea. And so when you're securing your family and you're building wealth for them, this is money you'll never be able to touch and live from. You understand? This is for somebody else's benefit and good. So when you put that discipline behind it, it grows and you do it well and you get the advice that you need and the direction you need. It grows over time. And by the time your grandchildren and children, their children grow up, then they have this huge, beautiful trust fund waiting for them at the end of the day when they turn 18, And so if you're not thinking at that level, then you're missing the joy of really building something that you'll never be able to touch, but that will last forever.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, this is Deborah. Not only am I host of Women Entrepreneurs Radio, but I'm also a writer and coach. I've learned that making professional changes calls for a change in mindset, and that's not always easy to do. In my book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life, you'll learn the 5 steps to thinking like an entrepreneur so that you can move from idea to action. You'll also get information on how to manage fear of failure and how to banish self-doubt. And You'll receive lots of motivation to pick you up and point you in the right direction when you're facing the emotional and mental challenges that come with making life changes. In fact, one reviewer said, the book gave me ideas to match with my own feelings. This book is clear, straightforward. All tips are really good and easy to apply. I couldn't agree more. So get your copy today of Think Like an Entrepreneur, Transforming Your Career and Taking Charge of Your Life. It's available in print, ebook, and audiobook on Amazon.com.
And that's a really good way to explain it, because I think that there is the follow up and follow through is often missing from all these systems and formulas. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm making a point of that because the listeners will most likely be people either in business or interested in going into business. Mm-hmm. And if we're coming out corporate with that mentality of the paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, every month, and then we're going into business and thinking, oh, it's just like that, and I'll just do this thing and people throw checks at me and then I'll be happy. No.
No. And again, I mean, I think it's really important to put a purpose behind whatever it is you're doing. You know, purpose gives everything meaning. It gives it life. And so, you know, if you're doing it out of social, I mean, there's a lot of rich, selfish people that are just miserable. I mean, just absolutely miserable. And everything they touch is, you know, it just turns out to be a misery. And so, you know, you have to evaluate where you are, where you want to be. I mean, do you want to be rich and miserable, or do you want to be rich, happy, and service, you know, living a purposeful life? And you can be rich and purposeful. And don't think, you know, there are people that don't believe you can be rich and purposeful, but there are people that are truly rich and purposeful. Serving other people is their goal. And as a result of that, they seem to, you know, just live in abundance. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's true, because it's what's your intention? What are you really trying to achieve? Is it just the idea of I'm going to get this number by this time and blah, 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 and I'm jumping in, and I've been that person too, jumping from thing to thing to thing. The thing. Here, there, somewhere.
We could actually develop a hopscotch game, girl, just based on the hopping and skipping,
or
from
Twister.
One endeavor to a nest. Oh, geez. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So I totally understand, you know, folks, the listeners, I understand. Not that I don't, you know, get it. Don't feel the pain. I get it. That, I know. You know, we're all over the map sometimes because that thing just sounds so good. And if I get these dollars, but like you said, the intention of why you're doing it, what you're doing it for, what you're looking to achieve, what you're looking to build.
Right.
You know, are you trying to leave some kind of legacy of any kind?
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Legacy is so important, and you know, creating a legacy and understanding. Yes, I want to leave something worth leaving behind, because that's what my legacy is going to be. And so, you know, my whole goal when I help clients is, again, it's not just about the money. It's about understanding your relationship with money and what you purpose money to do for your life. What kind of experiences do you want to have? What do you want your business to look like? How, you know, and of course we all want a thriving business, and that's very general. However, when we say I want a thriving, what does that look like? Give me a picture of a thriving business. You know, what does that look like in dollars? What does that look like in service? What does that look like in human capital? What does that look like? You know what I'm saying? It's all of these elements that make a business thriving in definition. And so if you don't understand what that looks like, if you can't give me a quantifiable description, then it's too vague. And the thing that I want people to get specific with is the numbers. Because guess what? When we put those numbers down and we write them down and we put a track, a plan to get to those numbers and we reach them, then you feel the exhilaration of real success and thrive in your business. You really experience the exhilaration of achieving that goal. And so it's about creating that kind of a legacy. And I'm going to tell you something now. This is something that most people don't do, is think about the day that they're going to sell their business. They don't think about the day that they should sell their business. Are you, question yourself. Do I want to be doing this for the next 30 years? Or no, I want to do this for 5 years, 7 years, get it to a place where somebody's knocking on my door. I'm ready to sell it for millions of dollars. And so, it's really about positioning, because then positioning to sell your business for those millions of dollars is a little bit of a different strategy. But how many people thinking about IPO in their businesses? How many people thinking about maybe selling out to a collaborative partner? And so these are elements of the business aspect that will generate a lot of money for you if you're ready and positioned to do that. And most entrepreneurs are not even thinking about that. And I dare them to. I really dare you to think about that.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because when I can remember years ago when I first went to wasn't first went to this particular business meeting, but the first time I'd heard that mentioned, where this entrepreneur was saying how that should be the end goal, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
I never heard that concept before when I was interacting with a lot of these. At that time, a lot of women business owners here in New Jersey who, as it turned out, as I got to know some of them, this was kind of a side business for them, because mostly their husband was bringing in the money or whatever. They maybe weren't necessarily people who were trying to build something because they had an intention, maybe to support their family or things like that. It may have been just their personal dream, but they could afford to do what they wanted with it because there was other income coming in or whatever.
Right.
So it was a different motivation, let's say. But when this person came in talking about selling a business, I'd never heard that concept before. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can think of a few examples right off the top of my head. Doreen Rainey. Rainey, I'm sure you've all heard of Doreen Rainey. Fabulous, fabulous woman. Radical success brand that just went crazy, right? Sold to Steve Harvey. All right, for undisclosed, I'm sure millions of dollars. But now Steve Harvey and Doreen Rainey partnered together to do Think Like a Success. And so that was a excellent example of how she built her empire to sell it. She sold it because, and here's the thing, you never know who's watching you in your brand building. And so in your business building, and so you never know who's watching you and will make an offer on your business. Lynda.com was bought for millions of dollars, and she started an online training platform. And now you've got platforms like Udemy, Thinkific, that model that same type of platform where people develop training content to put online so that you can get educated in everything and anything, right? So she was a pioneer in doing that, but she started out just wanting to provide information to people. That's all she wanted to do. And it just grew so big with ordinary people who had extraordinary skill sets, shared their skill sets on her platform, made money. She made money, and somebody saw it and said, I want this. And they wanted it for $12 million or a little bit more. I'm almost certain. I'm not quite sure on the figure, but I know it was in the millions. And she walked away. Now she's just the face and the name. They agreed to leave at Lynda.com, and and the rest is history,
Mm.
So this is what I
Wow.
talk about a lot about is people, entrepreneurs preparing themselves and positioning themselves to sell their business.
Hmm. That's a great point. I didn't realize that Linda was actually a person. I thought it was just the name of the site. Okay. I just was like, okay.
It's actually her name.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really
Exactly.
fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because, as I mentioned, it's something that maybe a lot of people going into business aren't really aware of,
Right.
particularly going into the business in the online world where they're hearing all these pitches and things and not knowing. There's a point, if you're starting a business, a lot of people who are seriously have an intent also have an idea or a plan of where they're heading.
Exactly.
Even if things may not always be in a straight line, which they never are, but still they have an idea. If they're serious. This is where I'm heading with this. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is what I would like to ultimately do with this, as opposed to I'm just going to jump into this because I clicked on an ad on Facebook and now I'm going to download the system and I'll make 6 or 7 figures next week.
Right.
It's you really have to have more intent than that, and I see that that's really what we're circling back to is the intent, and then also that helping you with your relationship with money, which becomes even more important. Let's say if you're actually the one who's generating an income as opposed to maybe being in the situation as an employee. Not to say that also is an impact, but it's a different kind of impact where you're now having to have the intent for your business to bring in the money, the intent for what you're doing in there, where you're going with the money, maybe where you're going with the business. There's a lot of different layers to it, I think, that people may not be aware of if they are not approaching business from that direction. They're coming into a kind of like, I'll just try this. Like we were saying, I'll just try this. I'll just try that.
Right. But then doesn't that reveal the mindset you're in? You're really that unsure mindset, that exploratory mindset. See, when you're decided, it's quite different than being uncertain about what you want your business, because now you've decided that you want to achieve $1 million status, multi-million-dollar status, $1 billion status. When you're decided in that, you have a specific strategy and plan that you want to execute to get there. But you have to be ready mentally, first of all, to accept the responsibility that comes with getting to those statuses. And so a lot of people are not ready. They're just simply not ready for that level of success. And I say mentally because you've got to be sure that you can handle being $100,000 business. If you can handle being $100,000 business, and then maybe you can handle being a $500,000 business.
Right.
And then maybe you can move up to that $1 million business, because now you have progressed through the challenges, the mental challenges, and the decision making that comes with getting and achieving that status. And it all goes down to, again, your experience. The experience of that $1 million status comes with a $1 million mindset. Because that mindset now has already predetermined your success in handling the business of making millions of dollars. So,
right, that's key.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's key. That's, again, something else that doesn't really get covered enough in these kind of do-it-yourself pushes for people to start businesses is not really covering the mindset game that really has to go really deep, and a lot of your possibly stumbles and falls are part of the learning process that you have to go through to get to that point where now, you can be that 6 or 7 figure business, as opposed to just always spinning your wheels. So I think that is really key. But Kim, could you please share where people can find you, and also where they can find your book, or find the pre-order?
Okay, yeah. For the pre-orders for the new book, A Dime to My Name, Breaking the Silence, Healing the Brokenness, and Living the Dream, pre-orders will open July 1st. And you can go to kimharris.lifebusinesslegacy.com. There you'll see a pink bar at the bottom of the page where you could sign up for updates. And when those updates come out, I'll actually have specials and event signing dates for you to let you know when you can actually pre-order. So that'll give you a head start for everyone else, ahead of everyone else. Mm-hmm. And then just to be able to reach me, on my website, you can go to lifebusinesslegacy.com, and there you will see all the services that my company, Kim 11 Legacy Enterprise, will provide. There's a few goodies that you can download. There's some audios and videos that you can watch, very educational, very informative. And of course, some of my previous interviews with Deb here are on the site. And so there, and then also there's my phone number, my phone number and my booking information. So if you wanted to book an appointment with me, you can be able to do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. So, Kim, I know, as usual, these are topics we could go on and on to discuss, because this is certainly, money, of course, is always a very big topic for everyone, no matter if you're a business owner, employee, or anything. It's going to be something that affects your life. But, do you have any final thoughts on anything that we have discussed?
Well, I say my final thought to the audience today is just to think about the moment that you entered into your relationship with money. No matter how good it was or how traumatic it was, own that story, because owning that story will help you to master your money game.
Mm-hmm. And that is great. Owning the story. That's something a lot of times that people may not even realize what the story is yet.
Yep. Takes a little introspection.
Right. And that's really the point of what, we've been saying, and what Kim's been saying and has said before, is really, you really need to have that introspection and really need to look at it for yourself to see where you stand, where you want to stand, and just coming to terms with that, understanding it.
That's it.
Yeah, then you can set your intentions for what are you looking to achieve, what are you looking to create, and do, the best that you can do, considering, as we said in the beginning, things can happen, emergencies, things pop up. You can't always know what's going to happen and when, but you could do the best you can do to, protect yourself.
Start where you are. You just start where you just start. Start where you are. Just start. It doesn't matter where you are. If it's just pouring your change out of the bottom of your purse into a jar, do that. I don't care. Just start somewhere.
Right, because I definitely do that. So there's nothing wrong with any of that. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Don't feel like you have to have a certain amount of money before you can think this way. That's not true at all.
Right.
Not true at all. You can start, as you said, where you are. I like that. So that's perfect way for us to wrap this up. And yet again, Kim, I'm so glad that you could join me, because it's always great to hear from you and what you're sharing with us. So it was just a pleasure to have you back on the show again.
It has been my pleasure, and I always look forward to more engaging dialogue with you. You better believe it.
Yeah, we certainly do have that, so it's good. So everyone, I know you enjoyed this show. Please share this on social media and share with your friends to listen. Also visit Kim's site and check out her book. And and really, share, as I said, make sure you share this, because there's always going to be someone who can certainly benefit from this, if not really everyone can do so, to think a little bit differently about their money and their relationships. So hopefully you will do that. And once again, it's Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.